So as we've been reporting, results for matric class of 2022 at independent schools were released overnight. And I'm joined now by Charlotte Snyckers from Redhill School here in Johannesburg. Charlotte is their Dutch scholar. She achieved 8 distinctions and an overall average of 93%. Charlotte, thank you so much for coming into studio. Congratulations. Were you up all night? Are you exhausted?
I was up all night, yes. The results came in at about quarter to 12-ish. And so I stayed up and then I was wired, so I couldn't quite get back to sleep. And then I had a radio thing this morning, very early. So yes, it was quite a big night and then a big day. So.
And are you celebrating tonight?
I went out with my friends to the movies just this afternoon, right after we had our school's matric breakfast this morning. Lovely. And we went out afterwards. So we did a dinner before when we were waiting for the results. My family wanted to take my mind off them a little bit. So.
Were you really stressed? I mean, how did the exams feel? Did you do better than you expected or pretty much where you thought you'd be?
There were a few exams where I did a lot better than I expected. I didn't expect to do nearly so well in maths because it was always my absolute problem area. It was my nightmare, my personal nightmare. But I was confident about my results because I generally know quite well how I've done in an exam, and I felt confident about all of my finals. So I wasn't too stressed about getting the distinctions that I was hoping for, but where I would place amongst the grade, especially because there are so many high achievers in my grade, I was a bit here and there about where might I place.
So where did you place in your grade?
I was the top.
Oh, well, that's okay then. Well
yes, thank you.
8 distinctions. So you did English, Afrikaans, Maths, LO, Life Orientation, yes. French, History, Drama, and then further studies in English, which
yes.
I suppose we also know as AP Advanced Program
yes.
English. That is a heavy workload. Were you chained to your desk for the whole year?
I wouldn't call it being chained because it's all stuff that I loved doing and still am very interested in. I'm taking most of it through to university this year, actually, which is quite scary to say, but I'm doing English and theatre studies at university, and drama and English were my 2 highest marks, so I think that bodes well. But no, I wouldn't say I was chained. It was a lot of work and study, but I was very interested, so. And the more difficult the work, the more interested I was. So I wouldn't call it being chained.
Did you have time for a social life? Because I think the matric class of 2023, they're just starting their matric journey.
Yeah.
Is there really time for extramurals, for sport, or for seeing your friends?
There definitely is. I would say you can't survive without it. You really can't. Unless you have balance with some exercise to get your motivation and your concentration going when you really don't have any of it because you're quite tired, without cultural activities that immerse a different side of your brain, and absolutely without friends who are largely the same age as you and they're going through the exact same thing as you. Without that, you're going to burn out. So there absolutely is time for it. I managed to do the student-led production in the first term at my school, which was the highlight of my year, definitely. I was in the marimba team, I did ballet and archery outside of school, and I managed to keep contact with my friends frequently, which was a lifesaver. And the whole community of matrics is out there on the internet for you to reach, so it's absolutely, there is time for it, and it is very helpful, I would say.
I'm just looking at your subjects where you say you love English and drama. You know, you've got all the skills to be a newsreader, but I'm hoping you'll aim higher. What's the plan?
Well, the plan is, there's no concrete plan, definitely. In terms of study, my ultimate wildest goal would be Oxford. I would love to maybe do a PhD there. But I have so many different interests that at the moment I'm just going to get a degree, sort of figure out what I like the best. I'm very, very interested in theatre, but I'm also going to be taking psychology because that's mental health, and advocating for that is also a passion of mine. So definitely no concrete plan, but I know what I love, and I do think I have a good idea of what I'm good at as well. So
Now, this may seem like a weird question to ask someone who's clearly such a high achiever, but failure is such an important part of learning. And I'm thinking, you know, we're going to get government school matric results towards the end of the week, overnight on Thursday. And while the IEB results were really good and most kids passed, there are those kids who won't have done well, who might have failed, even if they were hoping for an A and they get a B. What is your approach to failure, or have you had very little experience of it?
I have actually had my fair share, again in maths, and also in science when I took it in grade 10, because it was not, I mean, you can see in my subjects, I'm a humanities person, it was not naturally my thing. And it was disappointing, and I think especially when you're not used to it, it can hit a lot harder. But in terms of getting past it, it's just realizing that it's keeping in mind what you are good at, because no one can be very good at everything. And so I would remind myself what I was good at. I would put in the time that I needed to in the areas that I needed to focus on, but I also wouldn't beat myself down for, I mean, I used to. I definitely, when I was a lot younger, grade 8, grade 9, I could not take anything that wasn't almost perfection. And then as I got more used to it, it got easier to manage and pick myself up and not put horrible words in my own mouth.
Yeah.
Because you get it enough from other people. You don't need to be contributing to it yourself.
Such important advice. I can't let you go without asking for your input, because my son is in matric this year. So he's starting. He's in his first few days of matric. What is your best advice? You sound like a really well-rounded person who understands the importance of balance, but is still a high achiever. What's your best advice to the matrics of this year?
My best advice would be to do whatever you need to do to look after yourself, because you'll hear everyone saying to get enough sleep, to manage your time, and of course it's important, but it's difficult, especially if you are already struggling with stress or anything else. And you just have to make sure that you have the support system you need, because you cannot achieve the results that you want if you're not even capable of performing at a high enough level because you're not okay. So just making sure that you are okay physically and mentally is
great advice. I want you to have a look at our screen. We're going to put someone on the screen that you will probably recognize. Yeah, that's your dad, right? Just very quickly, because let's face it, I may be biased, but the parents play a key role. Talk to me about your folks.
Well, I mean, my family has always been my biggest inspiration, absolutely, both of my parents. I think my love of writing and creative writing and reading came from my mom, who's an author. My dad went to Oxford, so that's also my goal as well. His interest in law and philosophy and everything as well. It's just, yeah, they've been there championing me all the way. And even when they were trying to distract me from the results, it wasn't because they were stressed at all, because I knew they were proud of me from the beginning. So, yeah.
And I just love that in all this school uniform, you've got bright pink nail polish. Show it the camera.
Yes, so.
Always a little bit different, always be yourself. Charlotte, congratulations.
Yes,
I wish you everything of the best. And thank you so much for coming into studio.
Thank you.
That, of course, is Charlotte Snyckers. She's from Redhill School here in Johannesburg. 8 distinctions. How do you like that? More news in